For Session Daily Updates, I'm Sarah Allen. We plan to soon join members for the House Ways and Means Committee, chaired by Representative Jim Knobloch. The committee is often a final stop for a bill before being presented on the House floor. Let's see what members plan to take up today.
morning, everyone. The Ways and Means meeting will come to order. The clerk will note the roll. There is a quorum. We have the minutes of the last meeting before us. The minutes of May 16th. Representative Carlson moves approval of the minutes of the May 16th meeting. Any questions, concerns, amendments, or discussions on those minutes? See none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion prevails. The minutes are approved. Members, here's kind of the plan for the day. We're going to take up an amendment to the budget resolution now. That amendment is to increase the size of the budget resolution spending to accommodate a somewhat larger bonding bill. We're then going to recess while the Capital Investment Committee takes up the bonding bill. After the Capital Investment Committee is done, I would estimate at 1 o'clock we will call the next meeting for. We will come back here to do the capital investment bill. So with that, members, I'm going to move the A4 amendment to the budget resolution. And what the A4 amendment does is that it increases the amount of cash that we can spend in the bonding bill up to $11,500,000. That number may be familiar to people because it's the amount of the Lewis and Clark project. And it also increases debt service by $3,135,000, which is enough to accommodate an $800 million bonding bill. So instead of a $600 million one, we'd have an $800 million one, plus we would have the Lewis and Clark project. And so, members, that is my amendment. Representative Carlson.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment to the amendment. I was waiting until you were done, so.
Yep, why don't you offer that now, sir?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move the A8 amendment. And, Mr. Chairman, as you know, in past meetings, I've expressed concern about the size of the bonding bill, especially when it was at $600 million. I was hopeful that the size of that bonding bill would increase, and you've moved in the right direction, but in my view, you're not there yet. And so what the number that I have is based upon is the governor's bill for general obligation bonds, and that would be a cost of $8.172 million for this biennium, and that would bring us to the governor's level. And I think that provides an advantage for you. I suspect that being that you don't need the extra large majority to pass the bill out of capital investment or this committee, you do need 81 votes on the House floor. And if this amendment were to pass, that would give you some flexibility if some other number were negotiated once this bill is out on the House floor. So, Mr. Chairman, I think it would provide two advantages, more needed projects, and secondly, give you some flexibility, or the author of the bill, when the bill is out on the House floor, should you need to go above $800 million if it doesn't appear that that number would generate the 81 votes. So, Mr. Chairman, I think there would probably be more smiling faces in the audience if this amendment were to pass, because they could see some potential in the future if they didn't quite make it into the bill that the majority is coming forward with later this afternoon. So that's the amendment.
All right. Well, thank you, Representative Carlson. And I'm sure it won't surprise you for me to say that I would oppose your amendment to the amendment and ask people to vote against it. I guess, you know, as we've discussed before, I really think the governor's bill is much too large. The standard guideline by which we have set the limit on how big bonding bills are in this body, which is in the debt capacity report prepared by the governor, has for this year shown a bonding bill with geo bonding of $968 million as the capacity based on the way we've measured it for years. Now, this last year, the governor and the administration said, well, we're going to adopt a different way of doing the amortization on measuring what the capacity is, and they came up with a much larger capacity of no less than $3.2 billion. But anyone who I think has been involved in discussions about bonding and discussions about debt, in my view, would find that number just amazingly high, and I think that the governor's number is amazingly high too. You know, the bonding debt service is the fastest growing major spending area of state government. We're spending something like $1.5 billion a biennium on debt service right now that if we didn't have all this debt could be going towards education, it could be going to tax relief, could be going to any number of state needs. And I think that we have just gotten into the habit of borrowing too much money. There are certainly worthy projects out there, but with all due respect, I'd ask that we stay with the A4 amendment and reject the A8 Carlson amendment. Representative Carlson.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, nobody's put on the table the $3.2 billion, nothing even reasonably close to that. Just to reiterate, the point I was making earlier was flexibility. I said this would give you an opportunity to be more flexible without having to reconvene the committee to change the budget target. You know, theoretically, you could go to any number then up to the 1.321. That's my argument, is that you could include additional projects if need be to ultimately pass a bill. If the negotiations were to lead to a billion-dollar bill, you'd have the flexibility. If they went all the way to the governor's recommendation of the 1.3, you'd have that flexibility. I'm arguing for flexibility. I did have two other amendments with other targets, but I chose this one because it gives you and the author and the negotiators more flexibility than the other two amendments that I literally have in my vest pocket. So that's my case.
Okay, Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I have to say I'm feeling a little grouchy this morning because nothing from my city is in this bill, nothing. And I think it's really easy to argue that we should spend less when you get what you want for your community in the bill. So I just want to put that out there because I do note on this spreadsheet that St. Cloud State skipped the line and got its project in this bill, whereas Rochester Community and Technical College, which was higher ranked, is not in the bill. So, you know, this is just, it all depends on whose ox is being gored, I think.
Well, Representative Liebling, I would tell you that there are actually quite a number of St. Cloud projects that are not in this bill. And, you know, there's several I would have liked to have seen in the bill. I guess I don't know the particular merits of the Rochester project, but I know that underneath both caucuses, it's not been uncommon to alter the ranking that Minskew comes out with in deciding which projects to do. And so I, you know, have other projects that I would have liked that aren't in the bill too. Other discussion? All right, all in favor of the Carlson A8 amendment to the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. No. Nay. The motion does not prevail. The A8 amendment to the amendment is not adopted. Now we have the A4 amendment to adjust the budget resolution before us. Is there any other discussion on that amendment? See no discussion. All in favor of the A4 amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion prevails. The A4 amendment is adopted. Members, does anyone have any other questions for me on our order of business today? Otherwise, I'm going to recess us till 1 o'clock. We will meet in this room at 1 o'clock. Or call of the chair if the bonding committee, for example, would run later or there'd be something else. We would put something out on the internet. Members, we are in recess to the call of the chair.